Hello and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 12. I am Raymond Aitan. We're coming to you live from Huyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the day's headlines. President Buhari thanks Sarki Abba for loyalty, integrity. Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel receives Governor-elect Pastor Moino and Deputy Governor-elect Akoneyayi. Plus, former President Trump indicted by New York grand jury. We will bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Thanks for joining us. First in the news this afternoon is Nigeria's leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, who has thanked his longtime aide, associate, confidant, and senior special assistant on household matters, Sarki Abba. In a congratulatory message, the president said Abba had attained a remarkable milestone, another reason to thank God for his blessings. The Nigerian leader described the celebrant on his 65th birthday as one of his most dedicated, passionate, loyal, and hard-working aides. The president said Abba's patience and humility were endearing virtues, while his integrity is worthy of note, a quality that makes him proud. Away from that, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has said that the country's advertising industry will save around 500,000 jobs by codifying a 70% mandate for local content. Mohammed, who stated this at the 2023 Advertising Industry Colloquium organized by the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria in Lagos, also said the move would save the country hundreds of millions in capital flight. Representing the minister, the Director of Communications at the Ministry of Information and Culture, Sunday Baba, said the colloquium would motivate industry players, especially young people, who would rehash what they had learned in school and will also learn about industry best practices. He added that advertising had come a long way in advancing the economy and its role cannot be ignored by any developing country. In another development, the federal government has inaugurated the boards of agencies and institutes under the Federal Ministry of Environment, FME, less than 2 months to the expiration of the administration of President Buhari. In his address at the inauguration ceremony in Abuja, the Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abdullahi, who inaugurated the boards, said they would support in ensuring environmental protection and natural resources conservation for sustainable development in Nigeria. He said it was the mandate of the FME to secure a quality environment conducive for good health and well-being of citizens, as well as promote sustainable use of natural resources, restore and maintain the ecosystem, and preserve biodiversity. Meanwhile, the agencies and institutes with the new boards includes the Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, Ibadan, National Oil Spill Detection and Research Agency, National Environment Standards Regulatory Enforcement Agency, among others. Fund, IMF, has advised Nigeria and other global economies to implement fiscal policies that will reduce poverty and prioritize better living conditions for the poor. IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva, who gave the advice at the 2023 Bar Forum for Asia held at the Mula-2 Lighthouse in China, said over the past 3 years, low-income and vulnerable countries and people have been hit hard by the poverty level. She predicted 2023 to be another difficult year, with global growth falling under 3% as the effect of the war in Ukraine and monetary tightening continues to take hold. Georgieva said rescuing the vulnerable people starts at home, with governments protecting them in their own countries. Away from that, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, has commended the Policy Innovation Center of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, NESG, for launching a digital economy community of practice to drive inclusive growth and sustainable developments for stakeholders in the Nigerian digital ecosystem. The project is the culmination of NESG's partnership with the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office to identify and boost the capacity of key digital players and engender inclusive public-private sector collaboration to enable digital growth and capabilities in Nigeria. He noted that the challenge of building the nation's economy cannot be left with one institution or sector, adding that stakeholders must come together in order to support each other to ensure that the economy is developed. Elsewhere, the Debt Management Office (DMO) has revealed that Nigeria's total public debt stock increased to 46.25 trillion naira in the fourth quarter of 2022. But the latest figure has made members of the organized private sector and economists to predict that tougher days are ahead for Nigerians and firms. Meanwhile, the national debt as of September 2022 was put at 44.6 trillion naira. Now, according to the office, the new figure consists of the domestic and external total debt stocks of the federal government and the subnational governments, which includes the 36 state governments and the Federal Capital Territory. Stating reasons for the increase, the DMO said new borrowings by the federal government of Nigeria and subnational governments, primarily to fund budget deficit and execute projects, as well as the issuance of promissory notes to settle some liabilities, also contributed to the growth in the debt stock. To electoral matters now, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has issued certificates of return to the newly elected members of the Ondo State House of Assembly. According to the Administrative Secretary of INEC in the state, Oyetola Oyelami, the lawmakers-elect must utilize the trust reposed on them at the polls by giving to adequate representation of their constituencies. On his part, Governor Olurotimi Akeredolu, who was represented by Jibayo Adeyeye, urged the lawmakers-elect to effectively design legislation that will better the people and society at large. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel yesterday received the Governor-elect Pastor Moino and the Deputy Governor-designate Dr. Akunayayi, who went to present to him the certificate of return they received from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) following their victory in the gubernatorial elections. Speaking shortly after receiving his certificate of return, Pastor Moino, who described his victory at the polls as God's grace upon his life, assured the Akwa Ibom people of creating jobs for the youth and supporting entrepreneurs to further grow a robust economy in the state.
Let me thank mostly the resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, Dr. Cyril Omorogu, and his great team for their kind invitation for us to receive this certificate of return, which symbolizes the last of the levels of recognition of our overwhelming victory at the polls on March 18th, 2023. Let me again thank most profusely my political father, His Excellency Governor Udom Emmanuel, his dear wife, and First Lady, Her Excellency Dr. Mrs. Martha Udom Emmanuel, our dear campaigner-in-chief.
But the governor-elect pointed out that having been given the mandate to lead the Akwa Ibom people in the next political dispensation, his vision for the state, as encapsulated in the Arise agenda, will drive development in rural areas by giving reference and preference to agricultural development, infrastructural development, security, and education. Recall that INEC had yesterday commenced the presentation of the certificates to the governor-elect and other members-elect in the State House of Assembly around noon at the Commission's headquarters in the state at Dodoma Avenue, following the conclusion of the March 18 elections. We move to Africa now, where former Ivorian President Henry Derby, now an opponent, has called on his party members to unite to win the next presidential election in 2025 after the defection of some leaders in recent weeks. But this call for unity echoes the defections in recent weeks for some partners for Democratic Change International PDCI leaders, such as Bedi's former chief of staff, Nassi Sindri, who joined the ruling party. The 88-year-old ex-president also hinted that alliances could be forged with other parties for the next elections. Staying with Africa, the M23 rebels in the Democratic Republic of Congo spokesman Willy Ngoma says the group is withdrawing from the eastern border town of Bunagana and are expected to hand over the town to Ugandan peacekeeping troops today. Ngoma said the withdrawal is part of a deal brokered by regional heads of state and army chiefs following meetings held in Angola, Burundi, and Kenya. In a statement, Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni said the country's troops were going in Bunagana to act as a neutral force as the Congolese used time to sort out their political problems. Meanwhile, Burundi and Kenya have already deployed troops in territories where the rebels have left, and also South Sudan is expected to send in troops. And now on the foreign scene, former US President Donald Trump will reportedly face more than 30 counts related to business fraud in an indictment from a Manhattan grand jury. The first time in American history that a current or former president has faced criminal charges. Trump is expected to appear in court on Tuesday. Reports say the indictment has been filed on the seal and will be announced in the coming days. Meanwhile, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office has reportedly been investigating the former president in connection with his alleged role in a hush money payment scheme and a cover-up involving adult film star Stormy Daniels that dates back to the 2016 presidential election. Elsewhere, Finland will become the 31st member of NATO after Turkey's parliament voted to approve its application. Turkey had delayed Finland's bid to join the West Offensive Alliance for months, complaining the Nordic nation was supporting terrorists. Reports say Sweden, which applied to join NATO at the same time last May, is still being blocked by Ankara over similar complaints. Meanwhile, Finland will now be formally admitted into NATO at its next summit taking place in July in Lithuania. You're watching Spectrum TV News at 12. Still to come in the news. Super Eagles value rises from €301 million to €338 million. To stay with us. Welcome back and many thanks for staying on. On our business news, the federal government has declared that Nigeria must not be a dumping ground for conditioners and refrigerators with energy efficiency ratio that are below internationally acceptable minimum energy performance standard. But this came as the United Nations said Nigerians purchase about 1 million air conditioners every year. Meanwhile, the federal government told the Nigeria Customs Service and the Standard Organization of Nigeria, as well as other relevant agencies, to be alive to their responsibilities, stressing that the influx of substandard cooling appliances pose danger to climatic conditions across the country. Still in business, the Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, has submitted that the lack of regulation of conformity assessment activities over the years has adversely affected industries. This was stated by SON's Director General Farouk Salim at the National Register for Conformity Assessment Practitioners Stakeholders Engagement in Lagos. It said weak regulations were largely caused by poor protection of genuine practitioners from the negative impact of unhealthy competition from quacks, poor visibility, and recognition of genuine and competent practitioners capable of attracting patronage and partnerships for enhanced trade relationships, and poor value for money by unsuspecting customers who patronize quacks, among others. Salim noted that the engagement was guided by the strategic collaboration that SON shared with various organizations over time, especially with the SON Management System Certification and Training Services Department, with the organizations interface through their customers.
We expect them to have an agreement on common ways of behaving and common ways of practicing. So the public will be better for it, the nation will be better for it. Right now, anybody can come into the market without documentation, and some of our customers, the public, have been duped by companies that are not authentic. So this process will make sure that only individuals that are qualified and authentic are participating in.
And now in health, Bauchi State Primary Healthcare Development Agency has reportedly recorded 22 deaths from Lassa fever cases across the state in 2023. Chairman of the agency, Rilwana Mohammed, made this known at a one-day advocacy engagement meeting with traditional and religious leaders on the prevention of infectious diseases in Bauchi. Mohammed, who was represented by the Deputy Director, Disease Control and Immunization of the agency, Haruna Wakil, said Bauchi State also recorded 678 suspected Lassa fever cases, 95 confirmed cases, and 22 deaths. The agency stressed the need for proactive measures in the fight against infectious diseases, adding that traditional rulers and community leaders have significant roles to play in achieving the set objectives. Staying with health, Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke and Consul General of the United States Consulate in Lagos, Will Stevens, have called for the collaboration of all stakeholders to enable more people in the state know their human immunodeficiency virus status. Reports say they both spoke in Osogbo at the launching of the Osun Art Surge Project, an initiative of excellence community education and welfare scheme aimed at delivering comprehensive and sustainable HIV and AIDS clinical and community services to achieve HIV epidemic control in sub-national units of Delta, Ekiti, and Osun State. The initiative is funded by the United States President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief through the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Adeleke, who was represented at the event by his deputy, Kola Adewusi, disclosed that in the first 5 months of active surge implementation, Osun had seen a leap in treatment coverage of 12%. And now in sports, Nigeria Super Eagles is reportedly ranked 15th most expensive team in the world. The latest financial rankings of national teams released by Transfer Market witnessed a massive rise in the squad market value. Reports say the rise in the squad market value saw the 3-time African champions move up 2 steps and now ranks the 13th most valuable international team globally, while also cementing its position in Africa as the most valuable team on the continent. The Eagles boast players who ply their trade in Europe's lucrative leagues, making them one of the world's most valuable teams, with a total value of 338.50 million euros. And has also witnessed an increase of 37.5 million euro compared to the squad's previous value. Still in sport, Wolfsburg booked a Women's Champions League semi-final meeting with Arsenal after clinching a narrow 2-1 aggregate win against Paris Saint-Germain. German striker Alexander Popp extended the two-time champions' 1-0 lead from the first leg with a stunning opener. Wolfsburg opened the second half strongly and should have put the tie out of PSG's grasp, with Popp, Giroud and Svenja Huth all missing glaring chances. Wolfsburg held off a late PSG surge in stoppage time to continue their unbeaten run in the Champions League this season. On the entertainment front, Nigerian megastar Davido has released his much-anticipated fourth album, Timeless. The album features Asake, Dexter Daps, Skepta, Caveman, Angelina Kidjo, Musa Keys, Logos Olori, Faith Moravi, as well as Focalistic. Still in entertainment, American Rich the Kid has released a new single titled Yeah Yeah, featuring Rema, Arya Star, and Kidjo. As Nigerian music continues to attract new listeners around the world, more international artists are featuring Afrobeat stars as a way to connect with the audience. And that's all we have for you at this time. Many thanks indeed for joining us on the news. Don't forget, you can always connect with us on all of our socials, reaching out to us on the social media platforms. And do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, all of which you can find on our website. Just search spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching the news at 12. Thanks for joining us. I am Raymond Ita. Good afternoon.